and gentlemen. Whoa! I started talking without having the mic in front of my face. Faux pas. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Problem Solver Politics live stream. I'm super excited today to talk about what happened in Congress. I usually don't like using these terms because I view them as a little bit juvenile, and also I think they're a little bit overused. And oftentimes when I see the word wrecked in a thumbnail, I just think it's just partisan nonsense. But my faith in Congress was a little bit restored today, Cody.
Clearly we watched different things.
No, yes, you can think it was a little bit different, which is fine. That's why we have the show and that's why we have disagreements. But I actually felt like Congress was doing a relatively bipartisan job of policing and inquiring and going after not an enemy of the American people, but a problem in American society that is big tech. And a lot of very good points were brought up, and they were tenacious.
Well, hold on.
Usually they're bending over for Jeff Bezos. Usually they're bowing down to Google. These people today, I don't know. I was convinced. That for a second there, I thought they were actually acting on behalf of their constituents. You think differently though, Cody. So what do you think?
I think it was another unfortunate, large waste of time. 5 hours, wasting my damn time telling that much watching it for 5 hours. Oh, whoopsie. I gotta move this over here. Nobody saw that. Anyways, but no, yeah. So I watched probably all 5 hours of this. Maybe a few minutes here and there I would have missed. I actually went back to try to make sure I watched all of it. It was really stupid. I can say that. So basically, just to run down a little bit, I actually had an article pulled up I wanted to go through just for, I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this probably thankfully did not watch the 5 hour hearing I did. But, oh God.
But what do you mean, Cody? It was good.
It wasn't. Let's get through this stuff. Oh.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, this is annoying. Anyways, well, hold on. Okay, so I want to talk about here. Sorry, I'm just having a little bit of trouble right here getting my article pulled up for you guys so you can actually see it. For some reason,
Firefox does not want to cooperate today.
OBS is actually bugging out. I might have to actually temporarily close OBS and relaunch it, which would be scary. But anyways, today what happened is we had 5, I believe, big tech CEOs brought in for a hearing in front of Congress. So it'd be Sundar Pichai, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm going to get it wrong. From Google, Alphabet, but Google, right? Tim Cook from Apple, Jeff Bezos from Amazon, and Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. Now, I have pulled up here. I wanted to show you guys, but I am not currently getting any cooperation from my computer to show you guys. But the talk time breakdown, because why were these 5 people brought in? Mostly antitrust. I believe that was the kind of heading of the hearing. It was to speak to these 5 large tech companies.
It was the antitrust committee, yeah.
I believe one of the reasons why as well Twitter was not invited is because they're a little bit less antitrust doesn't apply to Twitter as much. Like they have the monopoly on tweeting, I guess. Like it's not like they have the monopoly on sources. And we actually, I will say one thing, there was a lot of information in there that's been out in public for a while, but maybe not people in the public had heard before. Yeah. Just talking about some of the things going on with, like, this one I thought was great. This is a great little story. So apparently, Google, when they decided they want to launch a competitor to essentially Yelp, their like neighborhood review stuff, right? They did so by just stealing Yelp reviews, copying and pasting them directly from Yelp to their platform, and then essentially just telling Yelp they will take them off Google if they have a problem with this, which,
wow.
As you can tell, Yelp had a problem with both these things. Actually, I tweeted out a small video clip of that, and one of the Yelp, community or relations directors liked it. Yeah. My only point being is clearly Yelp still has some hard feelings about the whole, how they were treated by Google things. So a lot of stuff like that was brought to light, but I mean, at one point, legitimately, I actually tweeted it out. Love to show you guys, but fortunately having a little bit of problems here with this stuff. But, at one point, they directly asked, I believe it was Sundar Pichai from Alphabet. Google.
Yeah.
Did you go back on commitments you made to both Congress and the antitrust investigators? And he basically was forced to admit yes. He never said yes. But he
they were forced to admit all kinds of things multiple times.
Not really. That was about it. There was not a whole lot else.
No, they also went to task on this Google CEO because remember he had gotten out of a Pentagon contract saying that the U.S. military is not in line with our corporate goals or whatever. They totally tried to virtue signal and pull the we're not going to have a contract with the U.S. military, but then they get the contract with the principal contractor of the Chinese army, and so
but he was. But a lot of the stuff is that there's very few things where it was like a lot of stuff they would just say, well, Mark Zuckerberg, I believe, said, I respectfully disagree with that characterization. I think 7 times. I think tomorrow.
But Zuckerberg came out of this looking good, dude. It was so much better than his first hearing.
Zuckerberg, unfortunately for all of us, appears to be very actually smart. It's much smarter. Yeah. Jeff Bezos looked like an idiot. Jeff Bezos just kept saying, at one point, somebody was asking Jeff Bezos, I forgot the name of the congresswoman, but she was asking Jeff Bezos, what kind of, do you require a name or verified name? And I think it's like email address from sellers, people to sell on Amazon. And he's like, I don't know. I guess. You don't know if your website Amazon requires people to have a real name and email. It's and he was like, she's like, let me tell you, you do. So now I'm going to tell you this. Do you require a phone number from them? He's like, I don't know. I'd have to look into that. And I'd understand him being like, look, I don't know how they legitimately go ahead and verify. I don't know the name of the website they use to verify. But you think at the very least he'd be vaguely familiar with the general process. Stuff like that made Jeff Bezos look kind of stupid. A lot of stuff came up where he was just kind of like, I don't know.
This is what it made him
remember.
Look like.
Could be going on. At one point, his own company's business habits were described to him, and he says, that sounds like, what was the word he used for it?
Unacceptable.
Exactly? Yeah, he's like, he was describing his own business tactics. Unacceptable. He came across looking like a buffoon. I don't think he's done as many of these. I think Mark Zuckerberg had a rougher go one of his first Mark Zuckerberg's had to do so many of these. I think that's the other thing too. Zuckerberg's like, it's like the meme from the Buster Scruggs movie, where it's like they're standing there in the noose and Zuckerberg's looking over at Bezos like, first time, like they brought me in front of here, tried to grill me so many dang times. Every single time he because the bigger thing I would say is it seems that Zuckerberg kind of understands what they're going to be doing to him, so he seems to just get along better.
Well, here's the deal. The very first time we all saw Zuckerberg doing his congressional hearing over there, I can't remember if it was in front of the Senate or the House of Representatives, but the first time he did his hearing, it basically looked like a bunch of boomers being explained how the internet that happened in their 40s works. And Congress was made to look very, very bad because they didn't have details. They were shuffling their papers a lot saying, so can you tell me why this bad thing that I was told happened on the internet? And the power dynamic was completely in Zuckerberg's favor and honestly in big tech's, because it looked like the U.S. government was this Johnny-come-lately to the party that didn't really know how the internet worked, and so any complaints they have about it were already outdated by the time they made them. This time, they came prepared and ready to rock and roll and call out huge problems their constituents were having. There was the specific I think there was a young Indian woman who was selling online, was one of the constituents, and their store had been completely taken down by Amazon. There was just story after story, and we know there were anecdotes, but specific examples of, hey, is it true that you stole information from Yelp and then use that information for your review platform without any of their permission, and enabling an unfair, not only business practice, but competitive advantage? And the Google guy's like, well, I was not aware of, are you not the CEO of this company? Do you not sign off on every one of these large scale decisions? Yes. And we're committed to, instead of the ums and the ers and the all have to look into that coming from the congressman, it was the CEOs that were all on their heels. And it was just specific example after specific example. Why'd you pull out of the Pentagon contract and say that the U.S. military is not in line with your corporate goals and then sign up with the Chinese military? What about the Chinese military is more in line with your corporate goals? Is it the slavery? Is the Uyghurs.
But here's the thing.
You know what I'm saying?
Hold
Like,
on. The one thing you're talking about in particular when the YouTube, or not the YouTube, well, it is the YouTube, I guess, but technically Google CEO had to come out and admit that was one time, yes, where they did have a gotcha, which, by the way, is a pretty big gotcha. It was, okay, basically the scenario, as far as I understood, it was Google purchased another ad distributor, so they had tons of data they were purchasing, and at the time, Congress was like, well, this kind of looks like a antitrust thing. I mean, if the two biggest data houses are merging, it's like, don't worry, Google, if we wanted to, we couldn't merge the data, and even if we could, we won't do it. You have our agreement. And they did it anyway, which is pretty ridiculous. But a lot of it was, dude, at one point there was a congressman who was like, why couldn't I find my Gateway Pundit article? My dad's emails go to my dad, gets my campaign emails in his spam. I was like, what the hell's the point of this? There was some nonsense. I thought the goofiest thing was, and in a minute here on, you know what, actually, 1 second, guys. I'm going to try something here. I'm going to try something.
Are you going to press the exit button?
Yeah, I literally can't. Until I reset OBS, I'm not going to be able to pull up any of these clips or articles. So.
Okay, just go for it, dog.
All right, we'll be right back.
I trust you. Just go for it.
Okay, we should be back.
Are we back? Did it work?
Should be back, yeah. And I have this working for me, too. Alrighty, boys, if we are back. Anyways, sorry, now I'm distracted clicking around buttons and stuff like this. But there was, I mean, again, like you brought up, there was definitely some moments that I did think went pretty well for the House reps or the congressional representatives that were there, where it definitely seemed like they knew what they were talking about. They had prepped ahead of time, and there was a lot of moments where, like, yeah, it was like they were just going to hammer them because they obviously had done something wrong. The only problem was accountability. Was at one point they were asking Jeff Bezos. They're like, "Well, Jeff Bezos, do you think you should be held more accountable? Like, who should be accountable for counterfeit stuff being sold on your websites, right?" And he just says, like, well, I don't know. Like, there was never anything where they're like, well,
this is why I think it was a victory.
When does the actual accountability come?
This is why it was a victory for the Antitrust Committee, because these were the two answers they got. They either got caught. They got caught being asked, why won't you do a U.S. military contract, but you'll do a Chinese military contract?
Okay, but,
why won't you do this, but you'll do this? So they either got caught.
They didn't just get caught. They've been known to do this for years.
Okay, yeah, I know, but now it's all of a sudden in the congressional record and the boomers have caught up, okay? And the second thing was, whenever they said no, Cody, they looked like buffoons that didn't know what was happening in their own companies, which begs the question.
Or liars.
Yeah, they either look like liars, or they actually, I think they look more buffoonish than liars, which begs the question. If I ask you about a specifically heartbreaking case that happened at the hands of your corporate thugs, and you are neither aware of it or how it happened, but you yourself agree that it is unacceptable, that means your business, is it possibly too large for you to handle and needs to be broken up? Because if the boss doesn't know how to log in, if the boss doesn't know basics, if the boss isn't aware of these horrible violations of America's principles of antitrust in their own company, does that not beg the question, have you gotten too large? And need ye be broken up? So they were proving the point of the Antitrust Committee for them by acting like such buffoons. I address the super chat right now, Cody.
Okay, but go on.
Well, no, but I will do the super chat, and then you can tell me why you think I'm stupid.
Not stupid. It doesn't matter if we all know these companies are corrupt and do shenanigans. I'm glad Congress finally pretends to know. Will anything be done? It's ridiculous.
Well, see, yeah, but Congress,
they shouldn't be doing
one
that.
step closer.
I agreed. Congress,
we were one step closer. You got to be positive about this, Cody. We are so much closer.
How are we closer? What legislation?
To Big Tech actually being held accountable.
In what way? Read the super chat. In what way? What tangible way?
Before I continue, Sly Cactus says, watching y'all on the big screen today because I can and I feel like it. The bigger, the better. That's true. Have you ever seen us on the big screen, Cody?
No. Every now and then I will watch YouTube, though, on my TV, and it does look a bit weird because I'm used to watching YouTube.
Well, flaws in production value are wildly apparent, but ours actually looks pretty good. I'm very proud of it on the big screen. Yeah.
I got the new cameras. But sorry, I just want to show you guys this. This is one of
Thank you, Sly Cactus.
I got it brought up again. I can actually run you guys some clips. I literally had to just restart OBS. It wasn't working otherwise. But check this out. So this was just people who didn't watch And when like Harden was talking about there, and we're just talking about the idea of like how they're just kind of like, listen to the response Google gives, and listen to what Google's being accused of here, and how the guy responds.
And Google
Run this
stole
really quickly.
restaurant reviews from Yelp to bootstrap its own rival local search business. Mr. Pichai, do you know how Google responded when Yelp asked you to stop stealing their reviews? Well, I'll tell you, our investigation shows that Google's response was to threaten to delist Yelp entirely. In other words, the choice Google gave Yelp was let us steal your content or effectively disappear from the web. Mr. Pichai, isn't that anti-competitive?
Dude.
Congressman, when I run the company, I'm really focused on giving users what they want. We conduct ourselves to the highest standard. Happy to engage, understand the specifics, and answer your questions further.
What the hell kind of answer is, well, we want to make sure we give people what they want. And like, that's your response to just bullying a bit, trying to steal someone's content and bully them into submission? It's like, we want to give the people what we want. I'd be happy to talk about the specifics. Like, imagine if someone accused you of stealing from somebody and then intimidating them. And
who looked bad in that interaction? Who looked buffoonish?
Nobody. He just gave a non-answer. This guy didn't impress him.
No.
He didn't impress him.
He just got asked.
Time and time again. No,
this is the first time a congressman
No,
actually looked as annoying as Jim Acosta does to Kayleigh McEnany during the press interviews and actually looked like there was a congressman doing their job. Chat, you got to tell me, am I crazy here? Did that not finally look like a congressman actually looking out for the best interests of his constituents and speaking truth to big tech power?
No, it seemed like he read off a piece of paper, and as soon as he got to the end of the piece of paper, and the guy just basically said, well, we give people what they want. Instead of him saying, like, so that's your response. That's what you respond. He accused him of being anti-competitive, and he just said, well, I take it very personally that I want to give people what they want. He didn't answer his question. He just moved on. And it happened a couple times during this hearing where you could tell they got done reading off their notes, and the guy gave him a baloney answer. At one point. Well,
but hold on.
Hold on a second. At one point, I believe it was Jeff Bezos. At one point, Tim Cook was being asked in the App Store why Amazon Prime, for example, is able to get a 15% commission while other similar apps would have a higher commission taken from Apple, right?
Yeah.
And he said, is this open to anyone else? And Tim Cook goes,
yeah.
well, it's open to all kinds of people. He's like, really? How defined by what? He's like, well, it's open to anybody who meets the requirements. And it's like, well, if the requirements are being Amazon, then no, it's not open to everybody else. It's open to Amazon. It's exactly the logic they use for the American debates for the president, where they're like, anyone can be on the debate stage. They just have to meet these parameters, which are basically defined by these candidates.
It was good because that made the Amazon guy, that made Tim Cook look like a guy who's playing favorites, who is not playing by the level playing field.
Wait. That was it. He just said, this is what's in record. He said, look, anyone who meets the requirements can get in. There was no pushback on, well, what are those requirements? Are they? It was just kind of like, well, that was the end of those notes. On to the next one.
No, you're correct. There were some of them were gotcha statements on behalf of the congressman, where they said, look, gotcha. We caught you doing X, Y, or Z thing. And the reason why they don't do some of these follow-up questions is because they've got 5 questions that are actually statements that need to get injected into the public record. They don't have a time to deliberate over the details of them. So they have to ask, then they're 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So he gave example A of how big tech is screwing people. And then he says, do you think that's fair? When the guy says, gives his ham-handed answer, he's not going to try and go through the details of his ham-handed answer. He's going to move on to example B, lambast the dude with example B. And then in minute number 3, he's going to lambast the dude in minute number 3. It was beautiful. I actually liked, for 30 seconds, Jerry Nadler.
Yeah, I have a question.
I actually liked Jerry Nadler for 30 seconds.
I have a statement for you.
The only guy that sucked it up was that dude from Maryland who was like preaching Russiagate crap.
Dude, there was a lot of weird nonsense. But I have a question for you, dude.
Okay, what?
When you always ask me, like, dude, why do I say I'm a mark? What do you mean I'm a mark?
I'm not a mark.
They literally have these hearings for marks like you to go, yeah, look at that, he got him. That's why they have these hearings.
What are you talking about? No, they have these. Look, okay, I'm sorry, I'm an idealist that actually believes Congress has a responsibility to act in the best interest of its constituents.
Okay. But my interest is not getting your TV time in. My interest is getting legislation passed, and that never happens.
And we're one step closer because we caught big tech.
We're one step farther away because they got the grandstanding in. I don't care anymore. I got my TV time. You know what's funny? You know what they used to tell young wrestlers?
Well, how's it supposed to
when they
happen?
go
If it
and
doesn't
wrestle?
happen this way, how's it supposed to happen?
By drafting bills and passing the bills. And
Okay,
legislation.
we're one step closer.
These people shouldn't be invited to the damn discussion on you're being broken up. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm saying. They shouldn't bring them in and say, well, respectfully, I believe you screwed over some of your sellers. And he goes, yeah, well,
No,
respectfully,
because if they
I
just
disagree.
broke it up without having a hearing, then big tech could say, "Oh, we weren't given our day in court, and we would be violating our own
This
principles."
wasn't their day in court. This was literally just them asking them questions. They're literally just saying, do you do this? And sometimes they say yes. But anyway, let's get something else.
It was beautiful.
Let's get to the other
Cody.
big thing that happened. The other big thing that happened to me was this outburst. Representative Jim Jordan.
Oh, this was a bad look, dude.
Temporarily derailed the entire hearing. So let's just run this and just watch it.
This was so boomer.
Oh, one second. I mean,
Mr.
Start from the top.
Antitrust law rather than fringe conspiracy theories. Mr. Bezos, our investigation.
Mr. Chairman, we have the email. There is no fringe.
Excuse me.
It's not your time.
Jordan, you do not have the time. Please be respectful of your
when
colleague.
someone
She
directly
controls the time.
Put your mask on. Put your mask on.
Mr. Jordan.
Mr. Raskin,
Mr. Jordan.
You want to
you
talk
do-
about masks.
Mr. Jordan, Ms. Scanlon.
Why would the Deputy
controls the
Secretary of
time.
Treasury unmask
Mr.
Michael Flynn's
Mr.
name? Mr.
Scanlon.
And what I want to know is,
Scanlon.
when someone comes
Why
after
would
my
he
motives
unmask?
for
That
asking
was as
questions,
bad as
I get a chance to respond.
The gentlelady is recognized.
so that was the clip.
Yeah, that was a bad look for Jim Jordan, dude. That was
You
a bad
can see
look.
how embarrassed Matt Gaetz was. They're both Republicans. He just like, Jesus.
Oh, I didn't see it.
He's like, Jesus Christ, man. He didn't actually put his hand on his head like that.
Where
right?
is it? Oh, show me that one again. I never noticed.
I'll show you. You can see him. I mean, they're just a small picture of him in the corner, but you could see him looking over his shoulder, and he's just
Okay,
like,
well, zoom in. That's pretty
that's about
funny.
as far as I can get. But yeah, you can see he's looking over, and I'm sure there's other Republicans. He's just looking at like, dude, this guy. What is this guy doing?
No,
right
I'm
now?
all about speaking
Dude,
up,
the-
and I'm all about breaking rules. But then when all of a sudden you do this like cute pun of, you want to talk masks? What about the unmasking by the Department of the Treasury?
Yeah, the
Like,
Michael Flynn line. That was so absurd, man. That was such a
the
joke.
most corny pun. That was like a dad joke. That was a congressional dad joke on steroids.
No, but it's not even like a dad. It's what they do. It's like you said. Like you say. You made a really great point earlier. They ask questions that are not questions. They're statements to be entered into congressional record.
Yeah.
People were talking in the chat before we started about the Bill Barr hearing. They're like, yeah, why was the Bill Barr hearing so weird? Because they said, look, we got to rail off all these statements into record, so we're going to pretend they're questions, but they're not. So when he tries to answer, we're going to say, I got 5 minutes to read all these statements into record, so I got to go. That's why if you watch both hearings, they're both about 5 hours long, a lot of the same players in both hearings, and they would let these guys answer because they were asking them. They were more so asking questions, but yeah, principally it remains the same. It's a lot bigger to just get through them. Like, I gotta ask this stuff. And even then, they'd say, like, respectfully, I gotta cut your answer off because I only have so much time. But that I would definitely say that was one of the more ridiculous moments to me, though, was especially because the way the thing happened too with that outburst from Jim Jordan, which made it so absurd to me, was the fact that he had just been given 5 minutes to grill whoever he wanted to grill in the tech CEOs directly about his issue. And then one of his colleagues makes a snide remark and he loses his mind. Dude, like, you're a congressman with 5 minutes to make your point. If you think one of your colleagues making a little snide conspiracy theory remark is going to like tank your point, it's like, I guess you didn't have a good point then if you think that's not good enough.
I think a snide return comment would have been totally justified. Like if he would have just been like, whatever, Congresswoman, or something like that, I would have been like, awesome, Jim Jordan. You got to boom, stand your ground, But the fact that he went into this tirade, it's like whenever there is one of those posters put up because a development is going to go and it says notice of public hearing. And then there's like old people from the neighborhood that don't do anything in the neighborhood other than complain. That just show up and say, oh, this is an outrage. It aged him 15 years and made him look bad. Look like that old man at the hearing who's just, yelling at the clouds and condemning the sky. So I think a simple comment like, whatever, would have been good. I could have lived with that. What's that face for? What?
Yeah, I think you could have maybe wore a blue shirt with those slacks. So at this point, it's like, who cares? Anyway, we have a super chat one, a couple super chats to get into.
Okay.
We have one super chat from Sly Cactus, $5. Said, Cardin, is that a hippo or a rhino on your short? I'll ask Don Lemon.
Oh, actually, this is, can they see it, Cody? In the light? Here. Oh, wait, there we are. You can kind of see. Oh, there it is in the light. Oh, you can see it right there. That is the California bear. This is my state pride. And if you study the California bear, the head signifies bankruptcy. The butt signifies environmental legislation that does nothing for the environment. And the middle is hypocrisy. That is the California. Did you like that? Was that Jim Jordan, Cody? Was I channeling my inner Jim Jordan right there?
Dude, I'm just.
No, you didn't dig that?
It was just stunning how how deeply complex that analogy was, man. That was some really.
Cody, you're a cynic, man.
California,
you're a cynic.
It's just California bankruptcy jokes, man. Never heard those. Anyway, I got a couple super chats coming up. One from my Melanin Scope, $2.99. Vote old fashioned or Jack and Coke. Now, fortunately for Cardin, unfortunately can't weigh in on this discussion.
Well, I could.
He's a better man than most of us and doesn't drink.
I don't drink. You're right.
But yes, I have to say at that point, personally, and let the chat weigh in as well, I definitely go with the Jack and Coke over the old fashioned. I think old fashions, to have like a real old fashioned, right? You need like the circle ice, the orb ball of the ice. It's not a cube. It's like an orb of ice, an ice ball, I guess.
Okay.
And you got to muddle with like an orange peel or some stuff. I think
Jack and Coke. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cody. That's Jack Daniels and Coca-Cola, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, soda and like cola and rum, not rum, cola and whiskey is kind of Jack and Coke.
No, because isn't rum?
Not rum. Sorry, you got it wrong. Jack Daniels is whiskey. It's cola and whiskey.
Okay,
drink.
so whiskey is okay. So rum is fermented sugar, vodka is fermented potato peels. What is whiskey? It's fermented hops?
It's not quite that simple either. There's other things to it. Generally speaking, they'll be made from one thing. If I don't...
Because it's malt liquor, so it has to be from like barley or something, right?
It's not malt liquor.
Wait, isn't Jack Daniels, that's not malt liquor?
It's, you know what? It'd be like one of the... Okay, how do I explain this? Alcohol, like many weird little hobby things, there's different kinds of like malted... I'm not going to answer because I don't even know. All I know is this is whiskey's one of those things. Whiskey's one of those things. I guess I'll frame it this way. Whiskey kind of works almost like cameras compared to what some other booze work like microphones for pricing. And I say it this way. Microphones run a couple hundred, at a certain point you get to like the best microphones, not that much higher. You could theoretically spend like $100,000 on a camera, right? Dude, I remember I was at a bar one day and my friend saw a bottle of whiskey on the shelf and he freaked out and asked the guy if it was real and if they could have a shot of it. It was pretty good. It was called Pappy Van Winkle, I believe.
Really?
Actually, there's a show I used to watch called Justified. And one of the characters was asked for Pappy Van Winkle. I thought it was made up. Never heard of it. Well, anyway, one day me and my friend were at a liquor store. He's like, you know what? It's my birthday. I got some cash. I want to see if they actually have any Pappy, if I could buy it. Dude, it was like $1,000 a bottle.
Really?
There's expensive liquors. Anyway, I don't want to get off
Van
topic.
Winkle.
I want to get back on topic.
Well, no, there's some really interesting comments here, though. Matrix Gameplayer says, it's Jack in the Box and a line of Coke.
That's the Los Angeles version. Anyway,
the LA version.
But Paul saying $10 super chat back on topic says, I feel the best way to get Congress to take action against these companies is position their growth and power as a threat to theirs. Thoughts? What's very interesting, and I'm not 100% sure if this kind of gets, but there was an interesting moment. I really wish I had time to pull it up. I just finished watching through this stuff before I went live, but there was a moment where I don't know who it was. The NBC stream I was watching, it just zoomed in on the face of like Bezos for 5 minutes while they just circled behind different Congress people who asked them questions and never told us who they were. Anyways, at one point somebody said, well, I just want to give you guys the floor here, all 5 of you. Do you have any suggestions for things that we can do in Congress to protect you guys from having, your businesses being screwed with or data stolen from Europe or China or foreign countries? He didn't say the Chinese or the Russians. He said in general, like, is there anything that you can recommend to us as Congress to do to help you guys be protected from foreign countries?
I missed that one.
And
I don't remember that.
Nobody said anything. He's like, I ask you guys again, do you have any suggestions? And they just sat there. No one even gave a BS phony suggestion. Like, well, we of course love to cooperate with the U.S. governments. And they just said nothing. And it was like, he's asking you guys if you have any...
Wow, it almost makes you think they're in cahoots with the foreign countries.
I don't think they're in cahoots.
Yeah.
I don't think they're in cahoots.
Traitors.
They're not in cahoots with any country. They don't care about any country.
They're godless, soulless.
They're companies. They're based in America, I guess, but they're not like born of America, if that makes sense. But they'll be based in anywhere tomorrow if it makes sense for them financially. It's not like they have to be based in America for any reason. Then Americans live here and we spend a lot of money on things we don't need to. So it's a great place to be in business as America. But it was fascinating that not one of them, and it was in the latter half. I'm just going to see if I can pull it up in a second here while we're talking, had anything to say about it. And it's just like, and then at one point as well, I believe it was the Google CEO was asked, like, well, are you guys aware of any time that you've ever had your data breached by the Chinese government in particular? And they just said, no, never happened. It's like, I don't know. And then
And they're lying through their
about
teeth.
20 minutes later, after someone else was asked a question, all of a sudden, they're like, oh, excuse me, we have a comment here. And he's like, well, actually, I just want to go on record and say, in 2009, Google was hacked by the Chinese government, and that was very well publicized. So it's like, yeah, I'm assuming somebody off camera. Again, this individual took over as CEO, I believe, in 2015. This had happened 7 years before or 6 years before he'd even got in office. So, or got in office, but who knows? It's only been in the company. Either way, you could tell somebody off camera told him, like, you can't say that. Google is definitely aware of when the Chinese government was behind a hack that happened to us 11 years ago. It was widely publicized. We can't have our CEO in front of Congress saying, I'm not aware of it ever happening. And then a couple times I brought that up, that did happen. But even then, they just let him speak it into record. They just said, oh, so now that you've realized you're probably perjuring yourself, you've had to, actually, excuse me, that did happen. It was well publicized. I don't know. Again, I didn't really get a feeling that this was they definitely cut promos on them. They got their stuff in. They said the lines they wanted to say. By they, I mean Congress. But I didn't really feel like any of these people. There's a couple moments.
If you had to choose a winner, if you had to pick a winner or a loser.
Mark Zuckerberg won. There's a winner.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. He's the only.
I think it's because he's the most experienced as far as the CEOs doing this stuff. But
no, but also he did a really good job of having a solid moan. You know, I mean, we joked saying it was kind of like, him having a moan, but he did bring up a good point. He said, look, people want to criticize us and say we're a big video provider, but you have to remember, the largest video provider in America is Google. People say we're an influential social media platform. Yes, but we pale in comparison next to X, Y, or Z. I think he named Twitter. And then he said, also, a lot of people want to criticize how we do our X, Y, or Z thing, but we actually control far less commerce than Amazon. He basically showed how Facebook is indeed powerful, but it's not the most powerful in any one thing. It just happens to have its hands a lot. Like, I think Zuckerberg came out of this really well. And you said something great during the pre-show, Cody, where you said you thought he was the smartest, that he was like pulling an idiot savant move or something, where he was basically saying, okay, I'm not going to score any big left-wing talking points here. I'm not going to, SJW it. But when this legislation starts coming down, you know what I'm saying? It's not going to come down as hard on me, because he was the most like, oh, with respect, I think this, I think that. The others started out a little bit arrogant until the gotcha questions put him in their place a little bit. Whereas Zuckerberg the whole time was like, look, I respect this. I respect what we're doing. I want to come to a solution. This is the first time I looked at Zuckerberg and I thought, wow, dude, well played, bro. Well played.
I mean, he's done that a lot of these couple last few hearings where you can tell he understands. Well, I think he just realized this, like, ideology aside, I think he just realizes, hold on a minute, guys, like, as far as big tech goes, if I start crossing these lines, I actually will be open to the government intervening, right? And I think he's just trying to, the weird thing too is Facebook's very global. And here's the thing, right? Like, there's free speech in America. There isn't free speech in England. I mean, like, no. These websites operate in countries that don't have, there's a reason why they don't operate under American free speech principles, because they kind of can't. If Twitter was if the Twitter you can access in any country in the world operated 100% by American free speech principles, it would just be banned in multiple countries. Yeah. They can't do that. That's not how things work in almost any other country. And I think that's one thing Mark Zuckerberg's keenly aware of. And I think he seems to understand that when I'm sitting in front of the American Congress, I have to kind of play ball more with the Americans here. And I'll tell you what, this was... Pick your favorite, choose your fighter, right? Of the 5 big brains in there today going against Congress, I definitely thought Mark Zuckerberg, because he had the same line he'd repeat over and over again, and it was smart. Like you said, these aren't questions, they're statements to get into the record. Every single time he would respond with, I respectfully disagree with that characterization. Because that means when you look at the record, the congressional record, it's just Mark Zuckerberg saying, look, I hear what you're saying, I just think you framed it incorrectly, over and over and over and over and over again. But that was wise. All of them got away with everything, though. Bezos seemed like he had
You think so?
I mean, I think they will. Bezos seemed like he had no idea how his company operates. That was weird because obviously, he's lying. It's like I'm pretty sure Bezos is pretty big-brained himself. I think he knows how his damn company works. Couldn't believe that. I don't know if sellers have to verify their names.
Yeah.
Like what? Like as far as Jeff Bezos knew, you could just sign up to sell and have no first and last name. Like, dude, everything asks you for a first and it just helps them categorize your data. Even it was hilarious. The congressperson had to tell him, you do ask for their names when they say, like, what the hell kind of, I don't know. I guess they do. Imagine the CEO of a company. I guess we do ask people for their names when they sign up. Like, dude, come on. That was ridiculous. As long as he was asking the minutia of how the enforcement's like, so if somebody working into an enforcement team, he's like, look, I don't work on these floors. I can't tell you that. I hire people to do it.
Yeah.
But if it's just like, have you ever signed up for anything, Jeff Bezos? Your company probably works the same way. You have to give them your name when you sign up for it. That was bizarre to me. So we got. How about this? Let's do this too. So number one, we went through.
Let's do this,
Zuckerberg.
dude.
Our Zuckerberg thoughts. What were we? That was my Bezos thoughts. I thought overall, all of them, none of them, they all kind of slimed their way out of this. Bezos just kind of seemed to remember nothing. Apparently, he's like, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. I don't remember that. If everything Congress was accusing Amazon of doing, Amazon is worse than we ever thought. Dude, Amazon was being accused of basically doing this. So let's say I sell. I forgot the specific example they used, but let's say I sell. I don't know. I'm just looking around. Various kinds of goofy novelty glasses.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm doing pretty good selling goofy novelty glasses. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm selling my goofy novelty glasses through Amazon.
Yeah.
So Amazon has all my customer data.
Yeah.
Amazon has more of my customer data than I do. They have most of it, really. I have very little. So Amazon, using my customer data, sells their own goofy novelty glasses for less using my customer data and then starts delisting my stuff. Yeah. There are some sellers, but overnight I lost everything. But here's the thing is...
Yeah, and that was an amazing...